Tonight, Toronto officials get ready to roll up some sleeves as the largest convention centre in Canada becomes a mass vaccination site.
This is going to be great. It's going to be a pilot project that we can expand right across the province.
Plans for the site, as well as what Pfizer's latest delays mean for vaccinations here. Plus,
I think the whole public has been fearful and expecting this to happen. You know, it's come to the doorsteps of Simcoe County.
another long-term care home in desperate need of help. This one in Barrie, where a combined 105 residents and staff are infected. And the results of a big box blitz this weekend where officers encountered problems with screening, masking, and maintaining physical distance.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. Some breaking news tonight. One man is dead after a shooting in North Etobicoke. Police say they heard gunshots while on patrol in the area of Duncan Woods and Finch just after 6 p.m. They arrived to find a male suffering from gunshot wounds. Police attempted to perform CPR on him but pronounced him dead at the scene. Witnesses say they saw a man fleeing. Toronto's police homicide unit is investigating. Turning to the pandemic now, the push to vaccinate is on, with officials preparing to open Ontario's first mass vaccination site in Toronto. It's serving as a pilot project for now, but as Talia Ricci reports, there are already several challenges to overcome.
The largest convention centre in Canada normally hosts events like car shows and Comic-Con. This week it becomes a mass vaccination site.
This is going to be great. It's going to be a pilot project that we can expand right across the province.
This is the first vaccination setup of its kind in Ontario and will provide a playbook for others in the province. The goal here, to vaccinate 250 people per day. But already there's a hurdle, a delay in the Pfizer supply.
You know, I really think it's important for the long-term care retirement home residents to try and stick to the schedule as much as possible, and it is reassuring that Ontario is doing that.
In Ontario, health officials say long-term care residents and staff who received their first Pfizer dose will receive their second within 3 to 4 weeks. Other recipients like healthcare workers will see their second dose pushed back to the recommended limit.
Pfizer has told the World Health Organization that's around day 42 where they think it's getting too dangerous to administer the vaccine outside of that window. So, you know, realistically, I think as long as we're getting people within that window, that's fine.
The chair of Ontario's vaccine task force says they're planning for large numbers of vaccines to arrive in April, May, and June, in time for a rollout to the general population.
I'd love to see the province of Ontario done by the end of July or early August, with all those who want to have a vaccine and who are eligible to receive it.
But Ontario ICUs need relief immediately. The number of COVID patients there hit a new record this weekend. Some hospitals are so overwhelmed, they're transferring patients wherever there's space and creating healthcare units in unconventional places like conference centers.
Our medicine wards, our ICUs have been full for quite a while, and we've been transferring patients between our 3 sites and to other hospitals and even to hospitals in other cities as well.
This site officially opens on Monday, but not to the general public. It will be vaccinating various frontline workers, like people who work in healthcare and within the shelter system. The province is looking to open 50 sites like this one. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Mayor John Tory also visited the new vaccination site today, saying the trial facility will benefit residents Ontario-wide.
The lessons that are learned here about how you can move people through and how you can make sure they're given their injections safely and efficiently, and all the systems that have to go with that, because if you think about it, it is complicated. Those lessons will be shared across the province.
The city aims to come up with guidelines for the province in about 6 to 8 weeks. The first vial of the vaccine administered tomorrow will be added to the city's artifacts collection to help document the response to the pandemic for future generations. A long-term care home in Barrie is the latest to face a COVID crisis. More than 100 staff and residents are infected with the virus, and at least 9 people have died. As Lauren Pelly reports, the Canadian Red Cross has been deployed to help manage the outbreak, but advocates say more help is needed.
I had to tell a daughter who has 2 parents in this home that very likely both of her parents were going to pass away.
This Barrie physician is volunteering at Roberta Place and says one of those residents has since died. At least 8 others have also lost their lives, all during an explosive outbreak that's infected more than 100 people.
This virus hit the doorstep and within 8 days has produced the numbers that you see right now, both with staff and with residents, and it's overwhelming.
Despite recent rounds of vaccinations, at least 40 staff members have tested positive so far. That's prompted several community physicians and the Canadian Red Cross to offer extra help and ring alarms over a lack of provincial support. A spokesperson for Ontario's long-term care minister shared a statement saying the province remains committed to stabilizing the situation and blamed the outbreak on the rise in community spread of the virus. Others say Ontario is also at fault. Some advocates are encouraging a better staffing plan, including paid sick leave for workers in long-term care, in part to encourage anyone with symptoms to stay home.
And that's what family members have been calling for. They're pleading to the government for support. Yesterday was Tender Care, today Roberta Place. Who's next?
Across Ontario, thousands of long-term care staff and residents have been infected during the pandemic's second wave, and the death toll keeps on climbing.
To be happening like this, at the scale that it's happening, with the amount of loss and hurt and suffering, it's a national tragedy.
What's striking about the outbreak at Roberta Place is how fast it hit. Physicians on site worry it could be tied to the highly transmissible B.1.1.7 variant of this virus. Further testing is underway to find out.
It's certainly on the minds of public health and the investigators who will determine that in due time.
Time will also tell how dire this outbreak could soon become and how many more lives will be lost. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
You heard Tender Care mentioned in Lauren's story. It has also been hit especially hard during the second wave. At least 73 residents have died at Tender Care Living Centre in Scarborough. That is the most at any long-term care home in the province. The grandson of a resident who died there says he wants to see concrete changes to the long-term care system.
Say, for example, if we have a restaurant failed inspection and one customer died from hygiene issues, we will shut down the restaurant immediately until it's been corrected. But so far, 3,000 plus residents died. What have we done to those long-term care homes?
Tender Care is normally operated by a company called Extendicare, but North York General Hospital has recently stepped in to help manage it. Last weekend, Tender Care got their first batch of the vaccine, and more than 200 residents and staff got their first dose. About 40% of long-term care homes in the province remain in outbreak. About 1,300 staff members in 10 Toronto-run LTC homes have been vaccinated. According to Toronto Public Health, that's about 43% of the total staff. The president of the Ontario Medical Association says there may be more than one reason why more haven't been vaccinated.
When you combine the existing mistrust of the system with the lack of information and the newness of the vaccine, it's very reasonable to expect people to be a little bit hesitant.
Hill also says many of the staff are still working at more than one site in high-risk communities and are doing their best to not transmit the disease. She says access to the vaccine at selective clinics is also posing an issue. She did note many of these staff members aren't outright refusing the vaccine, but they just haven't gotten it yet. And the province reported an additional 3,400 cases of the virus today, and more than 69 more people lost their lives to the virus. More than 1,000 of the new cases came from Toronto alone, with 585 in Peel, 254 in Windsor, Essex, and 246 in York. Just under 1,600 people are in hospital with the virus, and 293 are on ventilators. A big box store inspection blitz this weekend uncovered dozens of COVID-19 related violations.
The three main issues that we found yesterday included pre-screening of customers and workers to see if they had COVID symptoms, for example, also masking protocols and social distancing.
50 provincial inspectors visited 110 retailers on Saturday alone. They found 31 violations of COVID-19 prevention protocols. Inspectors issued 11 formal warnings and 11 tickets. They did find 70% of the retailers were complying with the rules. The minister says the province will continue its blitz in the days and weeks to come. Well, some beautiful weather for a skate out there today, topping off a pretty nice weekend. Some having a bit of a struggle, but of course it's all in good winter fun. A reminder, skating is allowed in Toronto currently, but check your local municipality's website for their rules when it comes to outdoor activities during this stay-at-home order. What a streak we've been on, Christina. These mild temperatures. No wonder people are trying to make the most of it outside.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get to that skating rink myself. I can't wait.
It's fun. Something to do.
Absolutely. So we do have a cloudy week ahead with some flurries, but the cold Arctic air isn't coming on till a little bit later. So let's get into these details. So overnight, we're going to see some flurries for Toronto, but by the time the morning rolls around, those flurries are going to have dissipated. Also some flurries as we head into London, Ontario, Windsor, Ontario as well. But as I mentioned, Monday morning, Toronto, -3 degrees, feeling like -7. So we're not going to wake up to flurries in the morning. But the story of the week is really about those snow squalls, all thanks to that upper trough, bringing us a little bit of snowfall right to those traditional snow belts. But for southern Ontario, yes, we're looking at some snowfall throughout the week, really off and on, but it's not about the accumulation for this week ahead. So through Tuesday, yes, you're going to see continuous flurries throughout the day, but once again, Kincardine, Barrie, Parry Sound, heavier accumulation there. Toronto are really within that 1 to 3 centimeter range. So for your Monday afternoon, it is the return of the flurries for Toronto right at the freezing mark. London and Windsor, here are your flurries as well. And then for your Monday overnight, the flurries are going to be continuing. So for your Monday overnight, Toronto -3 degrees. Flurries are also going to be continuing for your Tuesday, but then midweek we get a break, and I've got more details for you coming up in that long-range forecast.
Okay, we'll see you in a few. Thanks, Christina.
Okay, great. Thanks.
A fire at an apartment in the Parkdale neighborhood of Toronto has left 10 people displaced. Toronto Fire says it happened near Roncesvalles and Queen at about 6:30 this morning. Some people had to be rescued from the second floor. No deaths were reported. A TTC bus was ordered to provide shelter. There's no word yet on the cause of the fire. And Toronto police making several requests for help from the public today. Investigators are looking for 21-year-old Caleb Odulate Stewart of Toronto. He's wanted on an Ontario-wide warrant for a number of charges, including robbery with a firearm. Police say he's considered dangerous and to call them if he is seen. Police also asking for help in their investigation into the death of Mohammed Jailani. The 25-year-old from Minnesota died after a stabbing in Scarborough on January 13th. Police are looking for this man, 24-year-old Guled Mohammed of Toronto. He's wanted on a warrant for second-degree murder. Police say he's also believed to be armed and dangerous. A new program led by CAMH hopes to reduce the stigma around addiction in Muslim communities around the GTA.
Minority population in general, specifically in Ontario and Canada, have lower access for mental health services. We dig deep into the content and make the Islamic teaching integrated within our known evidence base, so it make it more appealing and also religiously and culturally adapted.
New research shows addiction treatment sessions in local mosques significantly decreased stigma around substance addiction among Canadian Muslims. The research is published in the Community Mental Health Journal. Researchers hope the study may open the door to more outreach to tackle a wider range of issues like trauma and PTSD. CBC News has learned U.S. President-elect Joe Biden plans to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline permit. More on his agenda next. The first 100 days of a U.S. president's term in office are widely regarded as indicative of their successes and failures. Joe Biden has already put out his plan, and one of them has major implications for Canada, as Ellen Morrow reports.
Joe Biden won't waste any time targeting the Trump legacy on day one.
Our plan is as clear as it is bold.
In the hours after the oath of office, Biden, through executive orders, will repeal President Trump's widely criticized travel ban on mostly Muslim-majority countries and reverse the decision to leave the Paris Climate Accords. In a blow to Canada's oil industry, sources tell CBC News Biden is also planning to cancel the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. The reports have already prompted deep concern from Alberta's premier. Still, the incoming administration is set to usher in smoother relations between Ottawa and Washington.
The Biden administration and our government have enormous amount of policy alignment. I think also that we are going to find a more predictable government to deal with.
Priority number one for Biden, correcting a bungled response to the pandemic that has killed nearly 400,000 Americans. From a president who maligned masks to Biden issuing a mask mandate on federal property on his first day, with the goal to vaccinate 100 million Americans by his 100th day in office.
That would be a successful vaccination program unlike any we've seen in American history. It would begin to make progress on the disease.
But few presidents have inherited such complex, overlapping crises. Despite no credible evidence, a majority of Republicans, tens of millions of Americans, don't believe Biden won fair and square, says new polling today from the Washington Post and ABC News. That after months of Trump attacking his own country's democracy, falsely and dangerously claiming the election was rigged, rhetoric that fueled the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Trump's impeachment trial for incitement will hang over Biden's first weeks in office. No clean break from the Trump administration, and Biden's quest for unity in the wake of it seemingly impossible. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Toronto.
The Australian government has come under fire for flying in top tennis players for the Australian Open. Players who are now quarantining because they were exposed to people with COVID-19, including Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu. Briar Stewart has that story.
This is what practice looks like when you're a pro tennis player confined to a hotel room before a Grand Slam.
So I guess this is the third day, and that was the workout.
Canada's Vasek Pospisil is one of more than 70 players now under strict quarantine, along with Canadian Bianca Andreescu, the former U.S. Open champ. Her coach was one of a handful of people who tested positive after arriving on charter flights ahead of the Australian Open. In a statement, Sylvain Bruneau said that he followed all the safety protocols and procedures, including testing negative within 72 hours before the flight departure, and that the rest of the team is negative.
And obviously our first objective is that everyone remains as healthy as possible and is not the cause of further spread within the bubble.
Throughout the pandemic, Australia's had some of the world's strictest border controls. While charter flights are bringing in more than 1,200 players and staff for the tournament, thousands of Australian citizens have been trying to get home for months.
You can't help but feeling sort of abandoned by, the Australian government.
Jared Duckett and his partner came to BC in December 2019 to work for the ski season. They tried to get back to Australia last fall, but their flight was cancelled and haven't been able to rebook.
Maybe if Australian citizens were a bit better at, tennis or playing footy or something, then it would have been a higher priority to get us home.
The government says it will run 20 repatriation flights for those stranded starting January 31st. The Australian Open starts 9 days after that.
Got the bike, that's the Bozu Bowl.
As for the dozens of players who now can't leave their rooms to train for 2 weeks, they admit they'll likely be rusty when they hit the court. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
You're looking live at Windsor tonight. Some periods of snow expected overnight with more flurries in the morning. Coming up, we'll check in with Christina for our long-range forecast. Stay with us. With the provincial stay-at-home order and less to do during the winter months, some Sudbury ski lovers are asking for their hills to be reopened.
That this is an easy place to social distance and get out and enjoy some of the activities. So, I mean, personally, I just think we need more activities. We need more things to do, and if there's safe things to do, let's do them.
It is normally the busiest time of year for ski hills, but they've been shuttered as part of the lockdown. Despite very few COVID cases, the city of Sudbury says it's just following provincial orders to close ski hills during the state of emergency. Operators are still assessing the financial impact of the closures. Okay, Christina's here with a look at the long-range forecast. So people are wondering if these mild temperatures are going to stick around and whether the flurries are coming.
Well, I've got pretty good news, Maryvale, because we're not going to see really winter until the last 10 days of January. How's that?
Sure, we'll take it.
Great. So you showed me those beautiful visuals of Windsor, so I wanted to start off and just let you guys know what you can expect in Windsor, Ontario the next 7 days. We do have our flurries for our Monday. You get a break for Tuesday, plenty of cloud cover. Wednesday and Thursday, it's really about that mix of sun and cloud. Are we going to be enjoying a lot of sunshine this week? Unfortunately, not a lot of sunshine for the week ahead. Wednesday we'll get 3 hours, but then come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to start to see a little bit more sunshine. So as I mentioned before, it is all about those snow squalls. We're going to be seeing some snowfall, not a lot of accumulation though for our Monday, our Tuesday. Wednesday is when we get our break. So here comes a strong clipper making its way over from northern Alberta. It's pushing its way over all the way into northwestern Ontario. That's when we're going to be dealing with a little bit more snowfall. And then Wednesday, we're going to see some cold Arctic air too. Before Wednesday, we've got Tuesday to deal with. Here are your flurries all the way across the board. Thunder Bay, minus 13 degrees Celsius. That's not with the wind chill factor, mix of sun and cloud. You're seeing clear conditions there. A lot of snowfall across the board though, but not a lot of accumulation. And then here is that cold Arctic air. Our first shot for our Wednesday and then our second blast for our Friday. So yes, it is going to feel cooler, but once again, not feeling like winter temperatures until the last 10 days of January. Your 7 days Toronto, your flurries for your Monday and Tuesday. Here is that break for your Wednesday and then return of those flurries for your Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all about that mixture of sun and cloud. So yeah, we can still get out there and enjoy some outdoor activities.
Oh, absolutely. That would be great. Thanks a lot, Christina.
Thank you. See you next weekend.
You bet. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you with a look at some Toronto residents enjoying the waterfront on what was a beautiful Sunday to cap off a really great weekend. Have yourselves a wonderful night, everyone, and make sure you stay safe out there. Good night.